This lesson's on 6.2, comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. So we're looking at example 1, which is asking us which is greater, 3 divided by 20 or 16%. Obviously right now we cannot compare them because they're not of the same format. So we need to either compare them as fractions, decimals, or percentage. So since 16% is given for us, I'm going to go ahead and take the 3 over 20 and convert that into a percent, so then I can do a comparison of percent to percent. So if I have 3 over 20, I'm going to do equivalent fraction and see what 20 can be multiplied so that I can get 100 for this right here. So 20 can be multiplied by 5 to get 100, so that means I would have to multiply the numerator also by 5. So 3 times 5 gives me 15. And when we put 15 over 100, that is same thing as saying 15%. So now I can compare the two because now they're in the same format, which is basically asking, is 15% greater or less than 16%? And so in this case, 16 is greater, so that's going to be the greater one. In example 2, it's asking us the same thing, which is greater. This one has 79% and then 0.08 decimal wise. So again, we want to convert one of them so that way they're in the same format. This one's giving us 79% or 0.08. So again, we need to be in the same format. So this time, let's change our percentage into our decimal. So again, we want to use the rule of decimal and percent. And right now we are at 79% right here. So I want to go to the decimal, meaning I have to go to the left 2 place values over. So that becomes 9, and then I have the decimal place in the back of that 9. So we're going to move it 2 places over. That's 1 place value, 2 place value. So I have a 0.79. So now we're comparing that to 0.08 to see which is greater. So in this case, 79, the 0.79 is greater than the 0.08. And example 3 is asking us to graph the numbers. So when we graph the numbers, we can compare to see which is greater. We need to convert the 72% and also 19 over 25 as a decimal, so that way we can put it on the number line and then do a comparison. So with the 72%, let's go ahead and put it in the format of my decimal percent. I'm at 72% here, and I need to go to the decimal, so I'm moving to the left 2 place values over. So that should give me then 1, 2, so 0.72 is my decimal for that one. And then 19 over 25, let's do equivalent fraction. So 19 over 25, I can multiply 25 by 4 on the top and bottom for that. So that way it gives me 100. Then 19 times 4 gives us 76. So now 76 over 100, again, that is in percent right now. So 76%, and I need to convert it to a decimal place. So if I move that place value over 2 places, 1, 2, we have a 0.76. So if I put it on the number line, I have a 0 here and a 1 right here. And I always like to put in between it so I can see where I'm at. 0.5 is in between it. So 0.72 would have to be somewhere around here, 0.72, and then 0.76 is after that. So as you can see in the number line, that 0.76 is greater because it is closer to the 1. Example 4 asks us which one does not belong. You can see in letters A, B, C, and D, they're all in some kind of different format. The A has a percentage, the B and C has a decimal, and then D has a fraction. To do a comparison, they either need to be all in percent or all in decimal to do a comparison. But since we have two of them already in decimal, that makes it easier for us. Then we could just do A and D conversion and make that into a decimal so we can have four of them and then do a comparison to see which one does not belong. For A, let's go ahead and change our 40% to a decimal and a percent, and we are at 40% here. So we want to move to the left, two place values over. When I move it two places over, 1, 2, we have 0.40. Going to go ahead and write that out here. Then we need to compare the 2 over 5 to see what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and do a division, 2 inside, 5 on the outside. 5 cannot go into 2, so we put a 0, introduce a decimal point and a 0. 5 goes into 20 evenly by 4. 0.4 is our decimal right there. Looking at all our answer choices, the one that does not belong is going to be C, because that is not a 0.4. It is 0.04 instead.